What if power plants looked less like this and more like this? Well, that might not be quite as crazy as it sounds, but we're not talking about turning power stations into skyscrapers, we mean the opposite. Let me explain. As you've probably heard, we need to use a lot more renewable energy, and as you could probably guess, skyscrapers aren't exactly the most sustainable buildings to build and run. So picture this. What if we could kill two birds with one stone and make our biggest buildings power our cities? And while we're at it, how much power could something like the Burj Khalifa really generate? Here's how a new take on an old technology is helping to do exactly that. Now, don't get me wrong, here at Tomorrow's Build, we love a skyscraper. They look cool, they're full of insane engineering, and they can put a city or even an entire country on the map. But first, for some bad news. For all that great stuff, they also have a huge impact on the environment, and taller does not mean more efficient. If you need any proof, we could refer you to the 2021 study Decoupling Density from Tallness in Analysing the Life Cycle Greenhouse Gas Emissions of Cities, published in Nature Journal. Don't worry, we've read it, so you don't have to. Because of the stronger materials and more robust engineering that comes with building at height, a chain of skyscrapers will generate 140% more total emissions over their service life than a comparable area with lower buildings and the same number of inhabitants. Now, the good news about solar panels. The amount of sunlight that hits the Earth in 1 hour provides more power than the entire world consumes in 1 year. The cost of solar technology has consistently fallen over the last few decades, making it a viable option for grid-scale energy production. But unlike old-fashioned power stations, the amount of energy a solar power plant produces is directly linked to its size. Unless you have a vast empty desert like Australia or Namibia, the competition for land use is going to cause problems. That's led to some novel solutions. Placing floating power plants on reservoirs is one idea that's taken off in places like China, Portugal and Switzerland. The rise in demand for solar panels is expected to grow the BIPV market by 21% every year until 2030. So here's our modest idea. Solar panels need a lot of space. Skyscrapers have a lot of space to offer on their facades, and they have a big carbon debt. So how about repaying that with some clean energy? But, I hear you say, what self-respecting architect is going to cover something like this with something like this? How a building looks doesn't count for nothing, and a skyscraper is still going to need some windows to see out of. Well, let me introduce you to the world of building integrated photovoltaics. BIPVs do pretty much what you'd expect. Integrate solar panels seamlessly into the fabric of the building. That's where this week's sponsor comes in. Mitrex is an expert in sustainable facades that look nothing like solar panels. Mitrex's panels consist of a solar cell covered with a tempered glass facing. The outer layer can be customized with embedded coating while still allowing the light to pass through to the cell in the next layer. The energy generation is pumped back into the building, helping reduce energy costs and carbon emissions. This church in Toronto was reclad with a 75 kilowatt solar array which seamlessly blends into the church's aesthetic. Because the units are prefabricated, it was quick, cheap and easy to fit. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, this luxury housing development generates up to 94 kilowatts of renewable energy thanks to its Mitrex cladding. It's an approach that's now catching on, with buildings across Canada integrating BIPVs into their structures, such as this residential tower in Halifax or this condo in Toronto. Mitrex's integrated solar technology can even be used on transparent panels for windows, which could mean glass curtain walls, which are par for the course on many skyscrapers. So, what if we turned the world's tallest skyscraper into the world's tallest solar farm? Estimates vary, but the Burj's surface area is around 111,500 metres squared. An average sunny location receives about 1,000 watts per square metre of solar energy, of which an average solar panel will capture about 20%. Roughly, that means a solar panel coated Burj Khalifa could generate over 22 million watts of energy. Now, that is of course based on some very rough calculations, but it does go some way to illustrate the kind of power that could be produced by a solar-clad skyscraper. So, if you're not a fan of wild speculation, consider this. Many skyscrapers are already taking advantage of this technology. This building, the headquarters of Chinese agricultural company LAD in Shanghai, is turning heads for its innovative roof, which features pleated solar panels angled towards the strong Shanghai sun. Meanwhile, in Jiangxi, a porcelain factory was fitted with 665,000 square meters of solar panels, making it the world's largest BIPV project. But with systems like Mitrex, one of the key benefits is you don't need to build anything new at all. And in the US and other countries, homeowners can even get a tax credit for installing solar energy systems. Solar power will help buildings reduce their consumption of fossil fuels, but as we all know, building them in the first place is far from the greenest activity. Retrofitting buildings, generally known as adaptive reuse in the architecture trade, is increasingly being seen as a cheaper, reliable and more green alternative to constant new construction. A 2017 study estimates that over the following 10 years, 90% of buildings would be retrofitted instead of knocked down and rebuilt. Recladding buildings with solar panels could just be the future. We could turn not just our skyscrapers into power stations, but maybe even entire cities. This video was sponsored by Mitrex. You can learn more about that in the link below. We're raising awareness of construction's mental health crisis and supporting charities in this space through our Get Construction Talking initiative. There's a video series on our channel, and you can find support or donate over at getconstructiontalking.org. And as always, if you liked this video and you want to learn more about where construction is headed, make sure you're subscribed to tomorrow's build.